Hi, this is Tony, and we're back on the bench. And this evening, we're going to be doing a reassembly here on a Shakespeare model. So this is the Shakespeare Encore spinning reel. Specifically, it's the model. I gotta find it here. The USP250. It's hard to see, but that's the model of this spinning reel here. So we've already done our disassembly. We've done some light cleaning. There's a little bit more cleaning that we're going to do in here, but we're going to put all of our pieces and parts back together here and get this reel ready to do some fishing here. So we're going to start and kind of go in reverse order here of how everything came apart. So we've got our pinion gear and we've got our bearing right here. So we're going to start with the pinion gear. We're going to take some blue grease, some Penn Precision blue grease to this pinion gear. Okay. Make sure that whenever it comes to oils and greases with fishing reels, make sure you're using products that are made for fishing reels. I can't stress that enough. Okay, we're going to put our bearing back on. This is a non-serviceable bearing, and so what we did is we cleaned it off with some penetrating fluid and did a little bead of some Real X oil on there. We're going to place it back over the pinion gear shaft. Okay, so we've got oil, we've got grease. We're going to put this back into position here, like so. All right, so it should look like that. And then we've got a series of different pieces and parts here that we want to put back into place here. And you have to have everything lined up just right, otherwise it'll never be the way it needs to be. So you need to have that lined up. And then we've got a couple of screws here. It is right there. Okay, and we're going to hit these just with a little bit of penetrating oil, multi-purpose lube. You can use WD-40 or Liquid Wrench makes good products. I happen to be using this stuff from Australia called Inox MX3, and it doesn't smell the best, but it seems to do the job pretty well. So I'm just using up what I have basically right now. We're going to put these two screws back into position here, like so. But yeah, I mentioned in the disassembly video, I like to do separate videos, especially on reels that I haven't worked on before. It just makes for better videos, usually, I find. Okay, so you should have something that looks like that. Now we've got a series of pieces here. We've got a washer here that needs to go back into place here, and I cleaned all these off already with some more penetrating fluid, but we want to put these back in position like so. Okay, there's a little bit of residual grease left on here, but we've got this little piece here that's got this little spring lever that hangs out like so. You need to make sure that that goes, and you insert that right there. It's hard to see here. I'll try to zoom in, but it's got to go right there. Okay, so that it rests just right in that groove when you flip this back and forth. Okay, so make note of all the orientation of your pieces and parts is probably the best thing that I can say when you're working on any fishing reel for that matter. Get schematics, take pictures, take videos, watch videos like this one. And you know, that's really the whole purpose of these videos, is so that if you have this reel or if you're thinking of buying it, then you can see what's involved. You know, when it comes to you know, the maintenance factors that are involved with these reels. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit more Real X here to this lever here. Okay, just a little bit there. All right, and that's really all you need to do. So at this point, we'll put our rotor back into place. And I already did this in the disassembly video, but we just did a little bit of oil here on the bail spring seams here. We took out our line roller via the screw right here and put a little bit of real oil in there. You want to clean up all that and make sure that your line roller is spinning real nicely. Okay, just little tips and tricks for that. A little bead of oil down here and you're good to go. Okay, so we're going to put this back into position here like so. And then we've got our nut, rotor nut, and I don't believe this is a reverse thread. And this happens to be a 9/16 nut here, so if you got a 9/16 wrench like what I'm using, you can use that. You can use a socket, like a deep socket. You don't want to over torque this, okay, but it needs to be tight enough. And then we've got a capture ring here, a security ring, and this prevents it from moving. Okay. We just want to make sure that this is somewhat snug, but just not overly snug. Okay, so we're going to hit that screw, I think right there, although now that I'm looking at it a little closer, I think we might want to actually move it over. So we'll see if we can hit the other hole here maybe with it. We'll see. Yeah, I think this side here will be better. So I'm going to take this little guy here. Okay. Set screw. Put that into position like so. Okay, so it should look like that. All right, now we've already cleaned up the inside of our housing here quite nicely, so there's not much more to do there per se. So now we want to get all these pieces and parts out. We want to clean all this up real well, the best that we can. Okay, and we want to start with our crosswind block. I want to get any old residual grease off of here. It's pretty dry already, so there's really not too much to do there. Okay, we're going to take our blue grease to this piece here. We're going to get some grease on these teeth here, like so. Do a little bit here on top. You don't need to overdo it, but you just want a nice light film of grease on there, okay? Like so. All right, and then we've got our block. Want to clean that up real good. There's this channel in here. You know, you want to get any old residual grease out of that channel for sure. Okay. And we're going to take a little blue grease to that channel as well, like so. And then we've also got our main gear. Take a Q-tip to this. You can see it's pretty clean grease, but it's old grease and it needs to come out. So we're going to do that. Take the toothbrush to these teeth, like so. Get these all cleaned up. It pays off to do these extra steps, so I don't recommend taking shortcuts. Clean your parts and your pieces, okay? That's what these videos are for, so that you can see what you need to do to keep these reels functioning and working when you're out there on the water and you're catching fish. You know, there's nothing worse than your reel failing on you while you're trying to work on, you know, bringing in a good sized fish, okay? So, or any fish for that matter. Okay, you want to clean off your drive shaft real well. Okay, we're going to take some 4/0 steel wool to this. Make sure it's nice and clean. It doesn't appear to be bent or anything like that, so that's good. We're going to take a little bit of blue grease to this here, like so. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these pieces and parts roughly back into position here the best that we can. So we've got our block. It goes into position there, like so. Okay. I can't remember, actually, I'm also going to do just a little bead of grease right here, because this appears to slide up and down against this metal right here. You know, anything that moves, you know, metal to metal, you know, it should get some form of lubricant per se. And that includes the main gear as well. So we're going to put that on right now. But I can't remember the exact order of how I took these out. Sometimes you have to put the main gear back in first and then the drive shaft. Sometimes it's the other way around, but we're going to find out here in just a minute. Okay, but we want to get our blue grease on this drive shaft here, main gear, drive shaft, like so. Okay, and then also on this side as well. I want to get it on there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to slide our drive line back into position here. Actually, I think we're gonna start with putting the main gear back in now that I'm looking at this here. So it turns out that I had the block actually upside down here. So now that I have it in the proper position, you should be able to slide your drive line up your holes, okay? And then we'll put our set screw in place here. But it helps when all the pieces and parts are nice and clean like they are right now. It just makes for a much easier assembly, and it just makes for a much longer lasting device, basically. So, all right, so now we're ready to put our side plate back into position. We've cleaned off the inside of this real nicely. This is all good here. I'm just going to put a little bit more blue grease just around this part of the shaft right here, just to let that do its job. Put this back into position like so. Okay, I'm just going to hit these with a little bit of multi-purpose lube here. And put these screws back into their positions like that. But if you want to know how to disassemble this reel, I recommend you check out the disassembly video I did for this. And I also did take apart the drag stack in the disassembly video, so I'm not going to repeat that in this video, but it's real simple. There's just a lock ring in there, a snap ring that you have to pry out with a screwdriver, and then take all your drag washers out and line them up, clean them off. Make note of the orientation of the stack and the order that it needs to go in. Download the schematic if you want, and you can follow that. You know, there's schematics out there available now for so many different model reels. There's just great access to that information now, so it makes it a lot easier to work on a lot of reels when you can get those. So I recommend doing that. And if you find yourself getting stuck, then just slow down for a moment and take the time to take pictures along the way, or just take the time to look a little closer at how things are put together, and just go slow. Okay, so I'm just going to gently snug these up like so. put our protective cap back on the bottom here. These have a tendency to crack over time, but this one happens to be in good shape, you know, but they get banged up on the rocks and whatnot. But they're helpful because then the screw underneath is protected from a lot of the elements, the saltwater spray and stuff like that. And okay, that looks good there. So now, I'm just going to finish off with just kind of drying this off a little bit here. But all around, this is a nice reel, and hopefully it'll be ready to do some fishing here shortly. I'm just going to do a little bit of reel oil on this pivot point here, just a little bit on the threads. Okay, we'll do a little bit right here on that crevice. Just work that in. This is just a plastic handle here, or knob. It's a metal shaft portion, but should be able to just screw it on like so. And then just kind of snug it up like that. Okay. Got our spool all done. You do a little bead of oil down there, which I've already done. Slap that back into position. Take it all the way through the drag stack. And then this is all nice and clean here. But note that there are 3 screws, and you can take this off. Sometimes I do that if I suspect that there's a bunch of sand or dirt and stuff like that, but this, I can already tell it looks quite clean just by looking down inside there. You can't see it on camera, but judging from the shape of this reel, I'm not going to suspect that there's any need to take that apart. So we're just going to check out our drag, make sure that that's working just by turning the knob here, and it's a nice smooth drag, so there's no problem there. Bail's working great. Make sure that there isn't anything else, and actually there's no anti-reverse lever, it would appear, on this reel. A lot of the time they're in the back here. This one doesn't have that, so that's just one little thing to note if you're using this reel, is it doesn't have that feature on it. So outside of that, I think it's all serviced up and ready to go. So thanks again for watching. This is Tony with Back on the Bench. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe and hit that notification button. We'll see you next time.